You were told that education would set you free, that knowledge would open doors, that effort and intelligence would naturally lead to comfort and security. Yet as the years pass, you notice something unsettling. Many of the most educated people you know are still running, still stressed, still worried about bills, still trading their best hours for money that disappears as fast as it arrives. And this is not an accident, it is not bad luck, and it is not a lack of intelligence. It is a quiet misunderstanding about what money really is and what freedom actually requires, because income is not wealth and being busy is not being rich. And if there is one lesson a lifetime has taught me, it is that most people are not poor because they earn too little. They are poor because they structure their lives in a way that guarantees dependence, no matter how smart they are or how impressive their degrees may look on a wall. You see, education trains you to solve problems inside systems, but rarely teaches you how to step outside them. It teaches you how to earn, but not how to keep, how to impress, but not how to live lightly, how to chase opportunity, but not how to recognize traps. And so the race begins early. Get the job, get the promotion, upgrade the lifestyle, reward yourself for working hard, and before you realize it, your monthly needs rise faster than your income. Your freedom shrinks quietly, and your life becomes fragile. One missed paycheck away from stress, one unexpected expense away from fear. I have watched people my entire life confuse movement with progress and income with wealth, and it has cost them more than they realize. When you are young, you are taught to chase a bigger salary as if it is the final answer, as if the number on your paycheck defines your safety and your worth. I believed that once too, until time showed me otherwise. Income is only what flows through your hands. Wealth is what stays when the flow slows down. That difference may sound small, but it separates a life of pressure from a life of calm. I have known men who earned more in a month than others earned in a year, yet they lived with constant anxiety. Their phones never rested, their minds never quieted, because everything they owned required more income to survive. Bigger homes demanded bigger payments, nicer cars demanded insurance and upkeep, and a higher lifestyle demanded a higher tolerance for stress. They were rich in numbers but poor in freedom. The moment their income stopped, fear arrived. That is not wealth, that is dependence dressed in fine clothing. Real wealth is quiet. It does not announce itself. It sits patiently in the background, giving you time, choice, and dignity. It allows you to walk away from bad situations without begging or borrowing. It lets you sleep without worrying about the next bill. I learned long ago that the goal is not to earn endlessly, but to structure your life so it requires less to sustain. When your needs are simple, your options multiply. When your needs are endless, even great income is never enough. People often ask how to become wealthy, and they expect a clever strategy. I tell them to first learn how not to become poor. Spend less than you earn, not once, but always. Avoid debt that feeds ego instead of building stability. Understand that every expense is not just money, but hours of your life given away. When you respect your time, you become careful with your spending. An old tree grows strong not because it stretches upward too fast, but because its roots deepen quietly over many years. Wealth works the same way. Small savings repeated patiently become powerful not through speed but through consistency. You do not need brilliance for this, only restraint. You do not need luck, only time and discipline. In the end, income can impress others, but wealth answers only to you. One buys applause, the other buys peace. If you remember nothing else, remember this: the richest person is not the one who earns the most, but the one who needs the least to live well. I have seen many intelligent people spend their entire lives running without ever asking where the road leads. They collect degrees, chase promotions, and stay busy from morning to night, believing that motion itself is proof of progress. The world rewards this behavior with praise, titles, and a sense of importance, but it rarely rewards it with freedom. The rat race is clever that way. It convinces you that exhaustion is achievement and that constant effort means you are moving forward when often you are only moving in circles. Education teaches you how to fit into systems, not how to question them. You are trained to follow rules, meet expectations, and solve problems defined by others. This makes you valuable as a worker, but not necessarily free as a human being. I have known people who climbed every rung placed in front of them, only to discover at the top that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. They were successful by society's standards, yet trapped by schedules, obligations, and a lifestyle that could not survive without their constant presence. The danger is not hard work. Hard work builds character. The danger is unexamined work, effort applied without reflection. When you accept every opportunity without asking what it costs, your time, your health, and your peace, you slowly trade control for comfort. Promotions come with expectations, raises come with lifestyle upgrades, and before you realize it, your life requires a certain level of income just to stay afloat. At that point, walking away is no longer a choice, it becomes a threat. The rat race survives because it offers short-term rewards that feel good now. New titles, better offices, approval from others. These things are intoxicating, especially to the educated mind that values recognition. But they rarely move you closer to independence. They make you faster, not freer. You learn to optimize your performance inside a system instead of designing a life outside it. Progress, real progress, is not measured by how busy you are, but by how much control you gain over your time. If your life becomes more complicated as your income rises, you are not progressing, you are accumulating responsibility. True advancement is when your life becomes simpler, calmer, and more resilient with each passing year. I learned late that freedom does not come from climbing higher, but from needing less. When you reduce what you require to live well, the system loosens its grip on you. You can choose slower paths. You can refuse bad deals. You can rest without fear. That is when work becomes a choice instead of a trap. So do not mistake motion for meaning. A wheel spins all day and goes nowhere. Step back, look at the road you are on, and ask yourself whether all this effort is buying you peace or merely keeping you busy. I have watched comfort ruin more futures than failure ever did. It never arrives as a warning. It comes quietly, wrapped in reward, justified as something you deserve. You work hard, so you upgrade a little. You earn more, so you spend a little more. None of it feels dangerous at the TI. In fact, it feels like progress. But over the years, those small upgrades begin to own you. And that is how lifestyle inflation steals freedom without making a sound. When I was younger, I thought the goal was to improve everything at once. A bigger place, better furniture, newer machines, more expensive habits. What I did not understand then is that every improvement comes with a permanent cost. Not just money, but attention, maintenance, and obligation. The house needs care. The lifestyle needs feeding. The habits demand continuation. Soon your monthly needs rise to meet your income, and no matter how much you earn, there is never enough left to breathe. I have seen people double their income and somehow feel poorer than before, not because they lost money, but because they lost margin. When your life has no margin, any small problem becomes a crisis. A missed payment, a slow month, an unexpected expense, and the fear returns immediately. That fear is the price of living at the edge of your means, no matter how high those means appear from the outside. The most dangerous part of lifestyle inflation is that it feels normal. You look around and see others doing the same, so you assume it is necessary. Bigger becomes standard, more becomes expected. And slowly, your identity ties itself to what you own instead of how you live. At that point, spending is no longer practical, it is emotional. You buy not because you need, but because stopping feels like falling behind. Real wealth requires space. Space between what you earn and what you spend. Space between desire and decision. Space to absorb shocks without panic. That space disappears when every raise turns into a new obligation. The discipline to keep your lifestyle steady while your income grows is one of the hardest skills to learn because it offers no applause. No one congratulates you for not upgrading. N01 notices restraint, but restraint is powerful. It builds quiet strength. It allows your savings to grow without effort. It lets investments compound without interruption. Most importantly, it keeps you free. When your expenses are low, your income works for you instead of against you. You gain options instead of pressure. I learned that comfort should be chosen carefully, not automatically. Improve what truly improves your life, but be suspicious of upgrades that exist only to signal success. Freedom does not come from having the most, but from being able to lose something without fear. The simplest life that meets your needs is often the richest one you can build. In all my years watching markets rise and fall and people rise and fall with them, I learned one lesson the hard way and saw it proven 1,000 times in others. Money is not lost most often by bad luck, but by bad behavior. People like to believe wealth comes from one clever move, one big opportunity, one moment of brilliance. That idea ruins more lives than it enriches because it blinds you to what truly matters. Avoiding foolish mistakes will take you farther than chasing smart wins ever will. Most damage is self-inflicted. It comes from impatience, from ego, from emotions pretending to be logic. I have seen people earn steadily for decades, only to destroy everything by one reckless decision made out of excitement or fear. A risky deal they did not understand. A debt taken to impress. A gamble disguised as confidence. Money is fragile when it is handled emotionally, no matter how intelligent the person holding it may be. The quiet truth is this: wealth grows when you stay alive in the game. That means surviving mistakes, downturns, boredom, and temptation. You do not need to be the smartest person in the room. You only need to avoid being the most careless. Losing money hurts, but losing. Discipline is fatal. Once discipline breaks, spending accelerates, debt follows, and rational thinking disappears. I have always respected boring people with money. The ones who move slowly. The ones who ask simple questions. The ones who do not chase excitement. They understand that protecting capital is more important than multiplying it quickly. They know that $1 not lost is as valuable as $1 earned. This mindset lacks glamour, so it is ignored, but it works quietly year after year. Mistakes compound just like good decisions. Overspending once becomes a habit. Ignoring risk once becomes confidence. Small leaks sink strong ships, not storms. When you live close to the edge, every mistake feels bigger. When you live with margin, mistakes become lessons instead of disasters. People often ask how to make more money. I tell them to first learn how not to lose it, control spending before increasing income, understand debt before touching it, say no to deals you do not fully understand. If something promises easy returns, it usually demands painful lessons later. Time rewards patience, not cleverness. There is a calm that comes from knowing you have avoided stupidity, that you did not chase what everyone else was excited about, that you stayed steady while others rushed. This calm compounds into confidence, and that confidence allows you to think clearly when opportunities do arrive. In the end, wealth is not built by daring moves, but by steady hands. You do not win by swinging harder, but by staying balanced. Avoid the big mistakes, and time will take care of the rest. When I was younger, I believed wealth was something you could see. I thought it looked like fine houses, polished machines, and the kind of lifestyle that turns heads. Age has a way of correcting such beliefs. Over time, I learned that the loudest displays are often covering the weak foundations, and the quietest lives are sometimes supported by the strongest ones. Appearances are expensive. Assets are patient. Most people spend their best years buying things that make them look successful instead of owning things that make them secure. Status symbols demand attention, maintenance, and constant replacement. They ask for more income every year just to keep up their image. Assets ask for very little. They grow slowly, almost invisibly, and they do not care who notices them. One drains your future to decorate the present. The other builds the future while you live your life. I have watched people trade peace for prestige without realizing it. A nicer car requires higher payments. A larger home brings higher costs and higher stress. These things feel like progress because others admire them, but admiration does not pay bills or buy freedom. When income slows, appearances collapse quickly. Assets, on the other hand, remain. They are not impressed by praise, and they are not frightened by silence. The trouble with appearances is that they create pressure. Once you build an image, you must protect it. Spending becomes emotional, not practical. Decisions are made to avoid embarrassment instead of to build stability. This is a fragile way to live. Real wealth does not require constant explanation or defense. It stands quietly on its own. Assets reward patience. They do not provide excitement, and that is why most people ignore them. Simple, boring, long-term ownership is not thrilling enough for a world addicted to speed. But I have seen excitement destroy fortunes and boredom build them. Speculation feels intelligent in the moment, but it rarely survives time. Consistency, on the other hand, compounds without asking for attention. Fear and greed are powerful forces. Fear pushes people to sell what they should hold. Greed pushes them to buy what they do not understand. Both are reactions to noise. Assets thrive in silence. They require you to think long-term, to ignore daily drama, and to trust time more than emotion. Owning assets is not about being clever. It is about being patient and disciplined. You accept slow growth in exchange for stability. You trade excitement for reliability. Over the years, this trade pays you back with options, peace, and control. The greatest luxury I have known is not something money can buy quickly. It is the freedom that comes from knowing your life is supported by substance. not appearance. When your foundation is strong, you do not need to prove anything. You simply live. As the years pass, you begin to see patterns that are invisible to the impatient eye. You notice that the people who last are rarely the most gifted, the loudest, or the luckiest. They are the ones who stayed. They showed up when it was boring. They continued when nothing exciting seemed to be happening. Time, when given respect, has a way of revealing who truly understood the game. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what can be built in a lifetime. They want results quickly because waiting feels like weakness, but waiting done properly is strength. Compounding does not shout, it whispers. At first it feels pointless, almost insulting in its slowness. Small savings, small improvements, small habits repeated daily do not impress anyone. That is precisely why they work. Few have the patience to continue long enough to see them transform into something meaningful. I have seen talented people burn out early, chasing fast wins and dramatic moves. They relied on intensity instead of consistency. Intensity exhausts you. Consistency carries you. Talent can open doors, but only discipline keeps them open. Luck can give you a head start, but only patience keeps you in the race. Wealth, like character, is shaped more by what you do repeatedly than by what you do occasionally. Fear and greed are the enemies of time. Fear makes you stop too soon. Greed makes you rush too fast. Both break the compounding process. When markets fall, fear convinces people that time has failed them, when in truth time is simply testing them. When markets rise, greed whispers that patience is no longer needed, and that is usually when the damage begins. The hardest part of building anything lasting is trusting what you cannot yet see. Early progress is slow, results are uneven, doubt arrives before rewards do. This is where most people quit, not because the path does not work, but because it does not entertain them. Boredom is the price of long-term success. Those who can pay it quietly are rewarded generously later. Consistency also protects you from yourself. It removes the need for constant decisions. When good habits are automatic, emotions lose their power. You stop reacting and start progressing. Over decades, this calm approach builds not just wealth, but confidence. You begin to understand that you do not need to rush because time is no longer your enemy. It is your partner. Real wealth is built the same way a strong body or a wise mind is built. Slowly through repetition, patience, and restraint. There are no shortcuts that do not demand payment later. The world celebrates sudden success, but it is sustained success that creates peace. In the end, time rewards those who respect it. Stay steady, stay patient. Let small decisions work for you while others chase excitement. One day you will look back and realize that what felt ordinary each day quietly built an extraordinary life.